Peace and ascension. How y'all elevate today? I am Monica and this is Muse by Monica. Welcome to the channel if this is your first time seeing me, and welcome back if you're returning. I appreciate you guys so much for continuing on this journey. All right, come on in here, take your shoes off ground. We have a shadow work video for y'all today. If you're first time seeing me on this channel, I talk about shadow work, integrating your shadow self, and alchemizing your pain into power, because you are the co-creator of your life. So today's video, I want to talk about Lilith. I want to give a little bit of history on Lilith, and then I want to give a little bit about the background of Lilith. And then I want to give a little bit of the archetypes, the 6 different types of archetypes that Lilith could resonate with you. Okay. Now, Lilith, some of you guys may know Lilith, some of you guys may not. You likely resonate with Lilith if you are some type of rebel, or you find yourself in the kind of dark energy. You find yourself not really wanting to be controlled or tamed, isolated, any of those lower feelings, any of those negative, dark feelings, you likely will resonate with Lilith, okay? So today we're going to talk about the history, origin of Lilith, her 6 different archetypes, and then the very most important part, I want to talk about how we integrate Lilith into ourselves, into her, okay? So if you're interested, stay tuned. Okay, so if y'all see me looking over, I've got notes, okay? So who is Lilith, okay? You guys may know Lilith as the sister to Eve, okay? Y'all know Adam and Eve in the biblical story, the creation story, okay? Lilith was often demonized for her power, for her dark power, but she's actually a very sacred mirror to the shadow self, all right? So she has 2 origins. Her original origin was Sumerian or Mesopotamian, which is circa 2000. Okay, Lilith appears in Sumerian texts as a wind spirit or a desert demon. Okay, she was associated with storms, desolation, and the night, and was often feared as a creature that lived in the sacred halapupu tree. All right, I hope I said that correctly. Hulupu tree. There are also early portrayals of her where she wasn't always evil. She was just very wild and untamed and linked to the feminine energy that was outside of the patriarchal control, okay? So didn't really like to be controlled by men, didn't follow the men type of rules here, okay? And then after that, Lilith was kind of adopted into the Hebrew text, where she was, again, in relation to her sister Eve. All right, in Jewish mysticism, Lilith often evolves into some type of mystic figure of feminine rebellion. All right, she is this archetype of doing the opposite of what she is told. All right, she is said to be Adam's first wife, made from the same earth of him and not from his rib. So this is what ultimately her principle is. She is equal, she is balanced, she is not from Adam. They are of the same, they are from the earth, they are from the clay. Whereas Eve, as y'all know, is Adam's rib, made from him, made in his likeness. All right, so Lilith was the type of woman who refused to be beneath Adam. Like I said, she was about being side by side and asserting equality in sexual and spiritual power. All right, she was about liberating as much freedom and autonomy as the male, as the patriarch system. Lilith believed that she was created from the same the same matter as Adam, so she had the same rights and the same power, okay? But when she was rejected, she uttered the name of God and flies away. Okay, she ultimately flees the garden. All right, she believes that she doesn't have to be in this type of controlled system. She doesn't have to always do what she's told. She's allowed to express herself in certain ways that are true to her. All right, so in this story, the divine exiles her and she is later demonized, becoming a child of the night, a night demon in folklore, and because of this. She's cursed for her defiance. All right. Ultimately, she's looked at as being cursed for not following or obeying the rules. Okay. So if you resonate with Lilith at all, you may be the type of woman who doesn't really follow the rules or doesn't like to be controlled, who doesn't like to be tamed when it comes to relationships, when it comes to family, when it comes to work environments here. Okay. You're not the type of person who just falls in line because that's how the system goes. You believe in standing true to yourself, standing true to what you believe in your sexual and spiritual power, okay? And even in your financial power, okay? If we make this all the way up to date, okay? So why was Lilith demonized here, okay? Lilith wasn't evil. She just could not be controlled, okay? And today you guys would say that that's a very strong power, but I was going to say that that's something that the narcissist doesn't like. Some narcissists, when you guys are in these relationships, you can look at the patriarch system as narcissism at its peak, all right? Being something where it's very ego-driven, ego-based, all right? And being outside of that, being outside of the norm, you don't like to be controlled here, all right? So Lilith was demonized very much because she refused to be submissive. She demanded equality, and she chose exile over obedience. She chose isolation over being conformed, okay? This can show up as, like for me, this is something where you choose to isolate yourself from family. Maybe family likes to stay in one state. They don't like to explore. They don't like to venture out. Maybe you're someone who likes to go outside of that norm here, okay? Because of these, she's standing on her own principles, morals, defiance, equality. This made her a threat to patriarchal systems and religious order. All right, so patriarchal systems, church and state, they all go together. All right, that's why the men, the Trinity, anything but the Ankh, the symbol of the woman, the male, and then the child, or the woman, the child, and then the man. This is a system of patriarchal, and this is a system of control, being told what to do, how to do it, okay? So they recast this beautiful archetype, this beautiful woman, as someone who wasn't a goddess, as someone who was actually a demon. Her sexual independence became temptation. She was a seductress, that siren type of energy. Her voice became witchcraft. Her rage became danger, and her womb became cursed. All right, Lilith became every woman who dared to say no, every woman who dared to stand against the patriarch. All right, so now we're going to talk about how we see Lilith in astrology, how Lilith shows up in astrology. You guys may know her as Black Moon Lilith, okay? In modern astrology, the Black Moon Lilith usually represents the part of your psyche where you carry deep, repressed, and exiled feminine power. It reveals where you've been shamed, silenced, or sexualized, and how that energy becomes your deepest portal to your liberation. Lilith energy in your chart is not soft, it's not quiet, it's raw, bold, primal, shadowy, magical, and untamed. Lilith is not just one myth. She is a symbol of repressed feminine power, the psyche, the parts of womanhood that were denied, power, sexuality, voice, rage, wildness, and even sovereignty. She is the first rebel, the first woman to walk away, the mother that was exiled, the mirror of shame and freedom. Lilith shows us you can't be cast out. Lilith shows us you can be a cast out and still be holy. You can be demonized and still be divine. You can be wild, wounded, untamed, sensual, and sacred, and still be whole. If we look at modern day Lilith, she will likely show up in your sacral return as the woman who is healing her mother wound, as the woman reclaiming her body and her pleasure, as the woman who sets boundaries without apology. She is the woman who becomes the witch, the siren, and the guide. Lilith whispers, you don't have to be good. You have to be free. So now that we have a little bit of background about who Lilith is, let's go ahead and get into her 6 different types of archetypes and how you resonate with each one. If something calls to you, then you are likely resonating with this type of archetype. And then most importantly, stay tuned because we're going to talk about how you can integrate this into your everyday aspects. Okay, so the first archetype is known as the rejected rebel or the rebel. This woman is, I'd rather be alone than be controlled. This is a woman who was punished for your power. So you learn to stay small. You learn to dim your light. You learn to keep this aspect in the shadow. All right. Some hidden signs that you may be a rejected rebel archetype. You shrink your voice to avoid conflict. You feel guilt when setting boundaries. You're afraid of being seen as too much. You unconsciously sabotage when told what to do. You fear being abandoned if you express your truth. You soften your words to keep the peace even when you're angry. You people please while secretly resenting it. You delay big decisions out of fear of being wrong or alone. You feel guilty for cutting people off. You rebel impulsively or go silent rather than communicating your needs. Your shadow origins, how this may have integrated itself secretly. You might have been shamed for being disrespectful when you were just trying to assert yourself. You were culturally conditioned to obey, submit, or to stay in your place. Punished for asking why or challenging authority. Exiled emotionally or physically for being just a little bit different. You grew up in a home where control equaled love and compliance equaled survival. You were often punished or exiled for speaking up as a child. Religion or patriarchy taught you that obedience equaled safety, and your truth was seen as disruptive, not valuable. All right. So I'm going to give you some quick journal prompts, and then, like I said, at the end, we're going to dive deeper into integrating this. Okay. So some questions to think about. Where did you first learn that my truth was dangerous? And what was my most unapologetic voice say today? All right, the next archetype is one of my favorites, okay? She is already well integrated, but she is the seductress, the siren, okay? My pleasure is my power. Your sensuality was never a problem. The fear of it was, okay? So some hidden signs, you may be the seductress or the siren, all right? You disconnect from your body or you feel numb. You attract emotionally unavailable lovers. You were shamed for how you looked or moved. You crave attention, but fear being called slutty or manipulative. You feel guilty for wanting attention, affection, or touch. You dress down to avoid being too noticeable. You seek sexual validation but feel shame after intimacy. You crave deep emotional connection but may settle for surface level flirtation. You struggle with body image even when others compliment you. You second guess your desirability, thinking it's a trap or a threat. You were taught that your body was a temptation or a distraction. You were conditioned to believe that pleasure equaled danger, especially as a woman. You were over-sexualized or over-touched, even in childhood. You are shamed or punished for being expressive, flirty, or curious. And you may have witnessed women being labeled as whores or fast for owning their desires. Some of these shadow origins may have come up when you were taught to cover up, tone down, or to be a little bit more modest. Your sensuality was objectified, not celebrated. You internalized that pleasure as selfish or dangerous. Now, some questions to think about when you're journaling. Where do I suppress pleasure? And how does my body want to be worshipped, not just touched? All right, so next archetype we have, the Lilith archetype we have, is the sovereign witch or the mystic, okay? This archetype says, I remember who I am. They told you that your intuition was delusional because it threatened their control. Some hidden signs you may resonate with the sovereign witch or the mystic archetype. You doubt your intuition or hide your spiritual gifts. You crave rituals but fear judgment or ridicule. You avoid visibility because you feel unqualified. You seek endless certifications before owning your own wisdom. You question your inner knowing and need constant external validation. You secretly believe that your magic is fake or weird or silly. You keep spiritual practices hidden or separate from your work life or personal life. You fear being spiritually wrong or offensive. You hoard certifications but don't feel ready to lead. You have had psychic burnout or spiritual imposter syndrome. You may have grown up in religious or rationalist environments that shamed your practices. You may have been called crazy, emotional, or witchy for having a deep intuition. You may have also experienced past life or ancestral persecution for your spiritual gifts. Your family may have also discouraged you from ritual, astrology, dream work, or spiritual practices. And you were conditioned to believe that women should not lead or hold sacred knowledge. Some of the past shadow origins, how this may have integrated itself, was through past life or ancestral memories of being persecuted. You may have also been in childhood environments that feared magic or your intuition, or you just often were called weird, crazy, or too emotional. When you're journaling, I want you to ask yourself, what mystical truths have I hidden to feel safe? What rituals bring me back to my true, authentic self? Okay, now the next archetype is going to be the shadow alchemist. Now look, y'all, I resonate with pretty much all of these. Okay, that's why I'm coming to y'all to talk about these, because honestly, we integrate in all of this. Okay, we need to integrate all of this. All right, so the shadow alchemist is nothing I walk through can destroy me. I transmute it all. Ashe. Ashe. All right, if you resonate with one of these, please let me know in the comments which one you resonate with. And please type Ashe, all right? Ashe. All right. You buried your grief so deep that you forgot that you were grieving. That's deep. All right. You don't have time to grieve. You don't have time to grieve. You have too much going on. You feel like you have to just push that to the side, and you end up helping everybody else, facing everybody else's shadows instead of your own here, okay? So the shadow alchemist is some hidden signs you may resonate with this. You may have the tendency to numb out through overworking, binging, or trying to control. You avoid grief, pain, or endings. You stay in toxic situations to avoid the ego death. You carry pain but hide your own. You stay busy to avoid your feeling your emotions. You intellectualize your trauma, but you haven't emotionally processed it. This is what I was talking about a little bit in the beginning when I say that if you don't integrate your shadow self, you don't integrate this knowledge, just knowing about it isn't going to do anything. You're going to repeat the same cycles. You're going to repeat the same patterns, okay? So you may also tend to minimize your pain by saying, it wasn't that bad. I can get past this. Everything will be okay. But you don't allow yourself time to grieve, okay? You may be deeply intuitive, but often emotionally unavailable. You unconsciously recreate chaos in your life just to feel alive. You help others heal, but you neglect your own deep wounds, okay? So I resonate very much with the Shadow Alchemist because of this, especially in the last couple of years, all right, and becoming knowing, all right? So this aspect of myself is really going to have to, I am really learning to integrate this, and this is just like a daily kind of thing. This is something that you're going to be working on for the rest of your life, honestly, choosing to integrate these aspects into yourself, all right? You may have been forced to grow up too fast, or you were emotionally parent your caregivers, okay? So you were the parent for your parents, or you were the parent to whoever raised you here, okay? To your siblings, or to those that were in the house with you, okay? Your grief or your trauma was never modeled. You were told to be strong. You were told to be strong, all right? So you weren't allowed to grieve or to express your trauma. You were told not to talk about it. You were kind of just told to be strong, swallow it, pick yourself up by the bootstraps and keep going, all right? Your emotions were seen as inconvenient or dangerous in your childhood home. You were punished or ignored when you were just trying to be vulnerable. You have a family history of unprocessed death, loss, or generational trauma. You may have also had to be very emotionally strong, all right, maybe a little too strong, too early. Your emotional expression was unsafe or inconvenient, and you were punished for feeling your feelings or just told to get over it. Now, this is something I'm also working on, again, because I have the tendency to do this with my own children. Being emotionally unavailable at times, I have the tendency to put that energy on my children. So I have to be consciously aware of when they are feeling things. I want them to, one, express their feelings, why they're feeling it, and then wanting them to sit in it and understand why they're feeling it. I don't want them to just hide it or be quiet because I don't feel like dealing with their stuff. So when you're journaling, I want you guys to talk to yourselves and ask yourselves, what pain have I refused to feel? And what do I need to let die so that I can finally live? All right, 2 more, y'all. So next we have the wild woman, okay? So the wild woman says she is nature's daughter and she will not be tamed. They may have broke your wildness before you knew it was sacred. Some of the ways that this aspect could have shown up in hidden signs that you may resonate with the wild woman: you constantly over apologize, or you may shrink your power. You're disconnected from your primal urges, hunger, desire, or even rest. You fear being messy, too loud, or too instinctive. You live more in your head than you do in your body. You prioritize others' comfort over your own authenticity. You apologize for your opinions, emotions, or even your simple energy. You feel trapped in routines, systems, or even playing a role. You avoid dancing, singing, or moving your body freely. You long to reconnect with nature, but you rarely make time for it. You constantly seek permission, even from people you don't respect. Some shadow origins of this may have integrated itself when you were told to behave, be polite, or just be quiet. Discouraged from playing rough, getting dirty, or being loud. You were punished for expressing big emotions like rage, glee, or even desire. You were conditioned to be ladylike or perfect or presentable at all times. Generational patterns of suppression, shame, or even body control in the feminine bloodline. You may have been raised or praised for obedience and not simply your authenticity. You were told to be nice, not honest. The world conditioned you to suppress your primal femininity. So when you're journaling, I want you guys to ask yourself, when did I stop trusting my own instincts? And what part of me is begging to be free? All right, and lastly, we have the Dark Mother, archetype. All right, the Dark Mother archetype says, I am death and rebirth, and I am fierce love. You swallowed your rage, but she's still inside, clawing to be heard. Some shadow signs that you may resonate with the Dark Mother archetype. You often feel rage, but suppress it to be good. You over nurture and then resent others. You fear being seen as too intense or overbearing. You carry guilt for mothering wounds, your own or ancestral. You overgive until you feel depleted, bitter, or invisible. You fear turning into your mother or becoming the one you never had. You carry deep guilt or resentment toward your own children or your parents. You hide secret rage behind a nurturing mask. You suppress deep emotions like jealousy, betrayal, or protectiveness. And you feel the pain of your mother line, but you don't know how to heal it. Some shadow origins of how this may have integrated itself. You may have experienced maternal neglect, enmeshment, or even emotional abandonment. Took on mothering roles too young, and you were a parentified child. You were a child who was forced to be the parent, play the parent role. You may have also been raised by women who were emotionally unavailable or over sacrificial. You may have witnessed women being devalued or completely erased in motherhood. You carry ancestral pain, especially from mothers who were betrayed or abused. Now, this is going to be very likely, the dark mother wound is going to resonate very heavily, very secretly with the Black culture, okay, because of the generational past, because of the generational wounds, because of the ancestral lineage that our mothers, that the matriarchs have gone through over the centuries. That wound is going to often show up in the woman, in the Black woman, as having to be strong, having to carry the weight of the family, but not knowing how to heal all of those residual wounds, okay? You may have also had a very toxic or absent mother altogether. Again, you may have been gaslit or betrayed by your feminine line, okay? So when you're journaling this, when you're going to journal about this, I want you to ask yourself, what did I need from a mother that I never received? And how can I mother my inner child now? And not just your inner child, because you may not necessarily, I don't necessarily remember a bunch of stuff from my childhood. I feel like a lot of that has been trauma suppressed. But I also believe that a lot of us need to work on the inner teen as well. If you remember more things from your teen years, a lot of that, I know for me, a lot of that has been integrated into a lot of these archetypes for me. A lot of the experiences that I have gone through are needing a lot more nurturing than the inner child. I can say that there was a lot more that I remember that I can connect with, that I can actively work on and heal more so than the inner child. But I want you to do both, okay? When you are working on the inner child, more so nurture them as if you were to nurture your own child. And when you're working on the inner teen, nurture them as if you were saying things to them, communicating to them, talking to them, teaching them the lessons that you wish you knew when you were that age, that you've learned now, that you've gained the wisdom. So now we're going to talk about the ways that we need to integrate these archetypes. This is the very most important part. So if you listen to nothing else, I hope that you listen to how you can integrate these aspects, okay? So let's get into it. All right, so for the rejected rebel archetype, if you have ever resonated with feeling like your voice was too loud, just know that the volume is just a reflection of your liberation, okay? So an integration ritual is going to be a fire letter ritual. I want you to write a letter to the person or system that made you feel rejected. Whoever or whatever made you feel rejected for your truth. Begin with, you tried to silence me when, and end it with, but now I rise and I speak because. I want you to burn it under the next full moon. And then I want you to say, my truth is sacred. I release the shame of rebellion. And I will leave some links to the journal prompts, some more shadow prompts for you guys below. If you resonate with the SIREN or the SEDUCTRESS archetype, I am the sacred embodiment of desire. My pleasure is sacred. Your integration ritual. I want you to do a sensual anointing mirror ritual, okay? I love these, okay? I love to stand in the mirror and just seduce myself, okay? This is one of my favorite things to do, okay? There's nothing better than this, okay? I want you to stand nude or wrapped in silk in front of a mirror. Even if you just did it stepping out the shower, even if you're just looking at yourself regularly, okay? I want you to just stand in front of a mirror and gaze into your own eyes, okay? You can even gently anoint yourself at your pulse points, okay, with a soft oil like rose, lang lang, or even jasmine here, okay? Stare deep, look deep into your own eyes, and I want you to say, my body is not a weapon or a weakness. It is an altar. I am sacred. Ashe. All right. Slowly trace your body, feel on your body, and speak love into yourself over each and every part of yourself. Look deep at each aspect of your face. Fall in love with all of the aspects of your face here, okay? Again, this is one of my favorite things to do. I love the seduction of self, okay? Next, for archetype, if you resonate with the sovereign witch or the mystic archetype, I carry ancient wisdom. I do not need permission to remember it. All right. Your integration ritual. I want you to create an ancestor altar and an intuition activation. Okay. Please build a small altar with candles, herbs, symbols, or photos from your spiritual lineage. Sit before it and write in your journal. You can also integrate using a deck of tarot or oracle cards or affirmations and even subliminals, okay? As you are sitting down and writing or journaling, ask yourself, what is trying to come through that I keep doubting, okay? One of my favorite things to do, especially on this channel, is to channel messages to you guys, all right? When I sit and I get quiet, or even when I'm out very, very active doing stuff, I get downloads all day. Like, I wish that I could just sit, like, write down all the downloads I get with you guys and then have time to sit in them in order to receive what the message is in them, okay? And I often find myself questioning, if I should put a certain message out, if it's just a message for me, if it's only going to resonate with me, or if it's going to resonate with the whole collective here, okay? So if you guys find that you resonate with this energy as well, please find that you tap into your intuition. Please practice your intuition through tarot and oracle messages, through your affirmations, okay? And also tap into the self where you really ask yourself, when did I first begin to doubt my spiritual gifts? Who in my lineage carried power but was never honored? Do you even know who the mystics or the witches were before you? Were they in your father's bloodline, or were they in your mother's bloodline? Do you know who or what where your origins are? All right. And then what magic do I secretly long to share, teach, or lead in? Okay. So next we have the shadow alchemist, all right? If you resonate with the shadow alchemist, you say, I am not afraid to descend. My pain is a portal to power. Ashe, ashe, okay? So your integration ritual, I want you to do a water grief release ceremony. Water is a very, 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 very powerful force, okay? It does a lot. It does a lot of cleansing. It does a lot of healing, but it can also cause a whole lot of destruction here, okay? So I want you to fill a bath, a basin, a bowl, anything to hold warm water, black obsidian, or amethyst. Write one memory or emotion you've buried on a piece of paper. Submerge it into the water, and then cry, scream, and breathe as you need, as much as you need. When you're done, drain the water as a symbolic symbol for death and then a rebirth. As it drains, please say, I rise with wisdom from my own ashes. Ashe. All right, y'all. So if you resonate with the wild woman archetype, okay, you may say, I was never meant to be tamed. I am the rhythm of the earth. Your integration ritual. I want you to perform a primal voice and movement practice. I want you to find a nice, private, quiet space and somewhere where you may be able to play tribal drums or nature sounds. Breathe deeply into your womb, out to your womb, your chest, and through your hips. Do all womb, chest, and hip releases, okay? Begin to move freely, stomp, sway, shake, crawl. Get as primal as you can. Get as huntress as you can. Let the sound emerge, the sighs, the moans, the howls. End by placing your hands on your heart and your womb and repeat, my wildness is not chaos. It is my sacred rhythm. Ashe? Ashe. All right, y'all. So lastly, we have the Dark Mother archetype. If you resonate with this archetype, you may say, I hold bold, the blade, and the balm. I am fierce, a sacred love. Your integration ritual. I want you to do a mother line grief and forgiveness ceremony. All right. Feel free to light a black candle and place a bowl of water and a red stone nearby, like a garnet or a bloodstone. Speak aloud to your mother lineage, those that are alive or ancestral. Speak aloud to your mother line. I carry you, but I am not bound by your pain. Write a letter to your inner child from your divine mother self, from your highest motherly self, the one who sees, protects, and honors her. Her. Read it aloud and then anoint your heart and womb. All right, co-creators and healers and Etherians, that is the end of this video. I'm going to leave you guys with a very quick affirmation. I am not broken. I am ancient. I am wild, wise, soft, and sovereign. Every shadow in me holds a piece of my power. So we have reached the end. So we've talked about Lilith. We've talked about each of the Lilith archetypes, and then we also talked about how you can integrate these Lilith aspects into your everyday self, how you can alchemize these shadow aspects into your everyday self, okay? I want you to perform these rituals. Come back and let me know how these are going for you. Again, let me know which ones you guys resonate with. This is going to be a continuous journey for me, for you, for her. As you co-create her, this is going to be an everlasting journey. As you get older, she's just going to be a better version of her, okay? All right, guys, so that's going to be the end of this video. Again, I hope that you guys like, comment, share, subscribe, turn on your post notifications. We do have TikTok town halls every Friday, so you guys can tune into those, and then I will sprinkle in these kind of educational videos in between, okay? So yeah, so that's all I have. Until next time, peace.